What's up, dogs? I've collected data for 3 years to make this video right here, and today we're talking numbers. How much have I spent on these Sparx and the accessories? How many sharpenings have I done for myself and for my teammates? And is it a good investment, if you'd like to call it that? And at the end, a bonus. How many sharpenings do you get per grinding ring? And do you get as many sharpenings as Sparx claims that you will? Answering all that and more because I started a spreadsheet to track all of this, knowing that sometime in the future I would want to make this video. And today, welcome to the freaking future. But before we dive in, my name is Yosh, I'm a content creator, this is my hobby channel, and here we cover the Hero 9 and hockey tech. On to the investment, and take note, this video will obviously focus on the original sharpener. I already made a video comparing this to the new sharpener, but I don't have that one personally. Yet. Unless Sparx gives it to me, I won't be getting it. The key thing to keep in mind is that if you get the new sharpener and you skip the Pro base, but you do get the carrying case, you're going to be looking at about the same investment. If you don't plan on traveling with the new sharpener and you forego the Pro base and you forego the carrying case, your initial investment may look a little bit less than mine. Otherwise, your investment's going to be about the same, but you'll have the added benefit of being able to cart it around in a way that was not so feasible with the first generation. Now, I had to dig through 70 emails that came up for Sparx on a Saturday to make sure that I didn't miss any digital receipts in order to make this video. If that isn't worth a subscription to this channel, nothing will be. Get out of here. On my order, I had found a $25 coupon code, which basically canceled out shipping. So my initial investment was $900.13. That included a 9/16 inch grinding ring. Over the course of 3 years, I've had 10 grinding rings. That initial 9/16 ring that was included in the starting price, and I got a free 5/8 ring from the referral program early on that has since been discontinued. Rip in peace, referral program. After those 2 rings, I got 1 ring at the $49 price point before the price hike. And then over the next 2 years, I got an additional 7 rings at the $59 price point. So 10 rings for a single skater household? Hold that thought, please. We will get to that in my usage section. But until we get there, the total for rings was $462. Because math. Sparx offers a ton of accessories, so I will give a rapid fire accounting of what I got and which ones are strictly necessary. Starting with the dust cover, this is something that I didn't want to pay for myself, but that I did want, and thankfully those types of things make great gifts. I did in fact get the dust cover as a gift, but before I had it, all I was doing was tossing an old jersey over top the machine to make sure that any dust didn't collect inside. Other accessories include, and buckle up, a blade buddy, a honing kit, an edge checker, a fine stone, 2 replacement air filters, a blade holder, extra goalie risers, and a coated steel kit. Boom! $308. Now, 107 of that is nice to haves and unnecessary. The blade buddy, the extra honing kits and stones, the blade holder, and if you don't snap your goalie risers, you won't need those. You don't need them, but especially for people with trigger steel, you will probably use all of it. 201 of that 308 I consider pretty necessary. You shouldn't skimp on the filters, change them when the machine tells you. The coated steel kit is basically a must if you have black steel. The rubber stone will allow you to remove burrs that the leather can't take off alone. And the edge checker, well, I made a whole video on the edge checker. And while the 139 might make you cringe, I think it's a must for making sure that you're getting the absolute best out of the machine for the time that you have it. Just watch the video. That brings our total Sparx expenditures to $1,670.13. No. Okay, as we recover from sticker shock, let's break down the usage. Maybe that's not all that bad. At the broadest level, you fall into one of 2 categories for a Sparx user. Either you are part of a single skater household or you're part of a multi-skater household. With the new sharpener, you could further differentiate yourself into someone who travels with the sharpener or someone that doesn't. I didn't travel with this beast, so I was a single skater household that stationed the sharpener in one spot at my dwelling at all times. But I will show you how I faked a multi-skater household as well. Starting with myself, let's get into the juicy data. I sharpened my own skates 113 times. That sounds like a ton, and I guess it is. But keep in mind that during this period, up until the pandemic, I was skating 2 to 3 times pretty consistently every single week. On occasion, when I was still playing at night for men's league, I would hit 4 slots. But the slots were mostly shinny style, running clock for an hour and 15 minutes, Weekday slots had OT, and it was the first slot of the day, so a 10 to 15 minute warm-up was guaranteed if I didn't sleep through an alarm. We usually max out at 10 skaters, but skated plenty with only 8 or 9. So what I'm trying to say is, it was a lot of actual skating time. Given the time that I've taken off of the pandemic, I've averaged about 1 sharpening per week over the life of the machine for myself. I wouldn't get them sharpened quite that often if I didn't have the machine, but because I did, all the sharpenings were great, consistent, and I could change hollows whatever I wanted. Speaking of hollows, this was the frequency at which I skated on each cut throughout that time. I tried 7/16 inch once. I love it for turns, but I tend to chatter when I stop, and my legs tire out early. 1/2 and 9/16 were mostly my jam, though I would use 5/8 on occasion, especially for men's league games where they would let us onto standing water. I tried the 5/8 inch fire, but for whatever reason that didn't feel skatable to me like the traditional 5/8 inch radius of hollow felt. I got that ring more so that I could offer it to others, and this is a beautifully planned segue into how I faked a multi-skater household. After having the machine for a bit, I decided to try and monetize it, as I tend to do, by sharpening for others. Shinny was kind of unique in that we play often with the same group of people. The pro shop was closed at 6 a.m., and the shop at our rink was, not the best in terms of what they would do for the sharpenings. Sometimes they would do an okay job. I have literally gotten my skates done hundreds of times at this shop because I used to get it done for free when I worked at the rink, but you get the idea. I didn't transport the machine because V1 is harder to transport, and I liked sharpening at home where I had plenty of light and it made deburring easier. So for $5 American, dear old Yosh would pick up your skates, stuff them in a skate sack, take them home, enter your details in a spreadsheet, and send your wheels back ready to go. This fine service is probably worth $7, maybe even $10, but I sleep better at night knowing that I've done good for the world priced at $5. For others, I've got 97 sharpenings logged over the life of the machine for revenues of $390. For you nerds out there paying close attention, that does not add up. For a while, I was offering a free trial program, and so in order to get you hooked, I would sharpen your skates for free the first time. Either way, that's a lot of money back, despite it not being free money. It takes longer to sharpen other skates, it requires more cycles to make sure that you're getting a good edge, and I had to make sure that I was always timely to the rink so that I wasn't passing off somebody's skates with 10 minutes left to get onto the ice. The hollows breakdown here looks a bit different. We have a platinum customer using 3/8 inch hollow, Ray, and a few clustered at 5/8 inch, which is a hollow that I think a lot of players would end up settling into for rec hockey if they just tried it for a while. It's a bit too shallow for my size, but if you weigh 160 plus, I would definitely give it a spin and see if you can gain a little bit more glide in exchange for giving up some grip that maybe you didn't even need in the first place. Our shop did 1/2 inch by default, and that works for a lot of people, so I also have a cluster there. This is the full distribution for all hollows, for sharpening both personally and for others. 210 skate sharpenings across 7 different types of rings. Now that we've hashed out some data, is it worth it? The first part of the calculation is what I'm calling the intangibles. The things that I'm not going to assign a monetary value to, but that are no doubt great perks about owning a Sparx machine. You aren't going to have to wait in line at the pro shop. You aren't going to have to hit the pro shop by a certain time. Hell, you're not even gonna have to go there. For those rare times the ponds freeze in PA, you can sharpen your skates after each day of nicking your edges on the sticks and rocks for hours. Your skates are going to be consistently sharp. And once you get the hang of it, or if you have prior experience, your sharpenings are going to be great every single time. I could try to slap some value on your time. I could add a handful of change to the gas prices that would inevitably add up. But I'm not going to do that because it's going to vary dramatically from person to person. And specifically in my case, any time that I would have saved, I ended up using in sharpening for others. Just know that you can chalk all of these intangibles up to increased quality of life. Another thing to consider is what this puppy would be worth if I decided to get out of the game today and wanted to sell it. I currently have 8 rings that collectively have 56% of their life left, according to the chips inside. So let's say the new price for 8 rings is $472, multiplied by what's left at 56%, that's $264. And conservatively, for this ring inventory, you'd have to be a fool not to pay, say, $150 for a bundle of used rings that tell you exactly how much is left. The resale value of the machine itself is a little bit trickier to calculate as it's out of warranty, and the new sharpener, if you don't get the travel case, is actually a little bit cheaper. I'm gonna take a stab here. If I included the edge checker, the cover, and the blade holder with the sale of the older machine, I think I could probably get $500. But let's say $400 just to be a little bit extra conservative. A used edge checker alone would be a steal at $100. There's nothing to deplete, no wear and tear. It would basically be $40 off. Agree or disagree in the comments, but we're looking at $400 plus $150 in rings for a total resale of $550. Would you pay $550 for a V1 machine, a collection of accessories, and 8 grinding rings? Let me know. So now we have our final calculation. $1,670.13 for all the expenditures, minus my revenues of $390, minus what I think I could sell my system and accessories for at $550, gives me personally a total cost of $730.13 to have great sharpenings every time I hit the ice in the last 3 years. Given the intangibles, I'm happy 3 years in. If I didn't have the Sparx, I would have only sharpened 50 times at $7, so I'll need to use it another few years to truly break even from a strict monetary perspective. But if you buy $250 sticks all the time, all of this is a moot point. Just go ahead and buy the Sparx. A true multi-skater household that's playing regularly, just go ahead and buy the Sparx. A single skater household that sharpens maybe once a month and isn't super picky about your edges, I would skip. There are other ways to get great edges for little effort. And the aforementioned bonus. Do you actually get 60 sharpenings per grinding ring? Early on, Sparx sold the rings for $49 and marketed them as being 40 sharpenings. Shortly after, they hiked them to $59 and marketed them as 60 sharpenings, but the hardware, the rings, were exactly the same. I reached out long ago and they responded quickly to clear up any confusion. Based on the user data that they were seeing, people were sharpening more frequently but could get away with only 2 to 3 cycles. And that's how they got to 60 sharpenings. In addition to the number of sharpenings, I also track the number of cycles per sharpening in my spreadsheet. On my own skates, their broader data agrees with my personal experience. I came in at an average of 2.48 cycles per sharpening, and there's considerable hollow switching and a few pond sessions in there. So feasibly, it's closer to 2 cycles if you're not switching hollows as often as I was. Where I think Sparx marketing is misleading is when you compare it to a more traditional sharpening. Sure, they last 60 when you have a Sparx and you change your behavior to remove a smaller amount of steel more frequently. But when sharpening for others on whatever their normal cadence was for sharpening and needing to remove the amount of steel to give them a beautiful edge, my data shows an average of 4.94 cycles. This would represent 30 to 40 sharpenings and not 50 to 60 sharpenings per ring. If I average all my data for me and for others, I'm hitting 3.61 cycles, or something like 45 sharpenings per ring. Sparx likes to claim that sexy $1 per sharpening, and I don't blame them, I would be doing the same thing. But when you account for sharpening other skates, the occasional filter, the occasional new honing stone, I think the right way to think about it is $2 in variable cost per sharpening. Still worlds better than going to the pro shop and paying $7 though. Keep in mind that they have the ability to collect data over multiple customers and that I'm just one data point, but I'm probably one of the few that has kept this kind of longitudinal, granular data. So this is your glimpse into real world Sparx usage data. And it was a pain in the ass to make. It was a lot of work. So if this was helpful, please give it a like, stay safe, and you have a great start to the new year. Real pain in the ass.